I could turn it off real quick. I just started it.
No, you're good.
Okay.
No, you're good.
Perfect. Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Sean McCullough. I'm just outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and this is for the book interview, The 7 Secrets of Super Achievers, How to Position Yourself for Greatness and Goodness. And I actually have the awesome pleasure of spending some time with a gentleman that I became friends with on Facebook not too long ago, actually. And we've been friends on Facebook for, I don't know, Lane, how long would you say, bud?
Not long enough, my man, for what we're about to do.
I mean, we've been friends on Facebook for, probably about, I would say at least a year, but we finally connected the other day, and we just hit it off, as I like to say, like peas and carrots on a Sunday dinner. And basically, I asked Lane if he would be willing to contribute some time to allow me to interview him, to really extract kind of his experience and journey that he's had with his life and his entrepreneurial journey, and really get to pull out some things, some nuggets of wisdom that we hope the intention that we have with this this call and this interview is basically that you would gain some insights from Lane, from his experience and what he's done in his development and personal growth and professional development and growth, that you would see that whatever your dreams are, whatever your desires are, what your destiny is, or what I like to call your life's purposeful mission and plan, that it's all possible as long as you stay the course, put the right team together, put the right plan together, and then ultimately go to work and execute. So with that, Lane, welcome to the interview. I thank you again, my brother, for taking your time out to contribute to this book project and to what we're up to with, helping and serving young adults, millennials, really our future CEOs of tomorrow. And one of the things that I'd like to start out with, Lane, is as we're getting into this thing, is how, like, back when what's your earliest time that you can remember, back in high school or college or middle school? Like, when did you realize that you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Great question. So I actually started in the middle school system as a pre-algebra teacher for a few years in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Okay.
And so it was actually as a result of reading a book, the first one outside of academia by choice, that changed everything for me. It was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And a lot of entrepreneurs have read that, or they suggest or recommend it. And so at the time of my life, the honest truth is that I look back and now the concepts are so simple and basic, but at the time they were so revolutionary for me because my paradigm, my education, my personal growth was not anywhere where it is now. And so it was revolutionary to me. And I actually quit teaching as a result of that book and became an entrepreneur because I didn't believe, number one, in the systems that were in place based on what he was kind of contradicting, if you want to, that created kind of a big stir. But second, not just that I not believe him, how was I going to teach students, the minds of 12, 13, 14-year-olds, to follow what I didn't believe in anymore? And so that was really my first exposure to the opportunity that there was a different route, a different lane that you could take. Mm-hmm. And the honest truth is, Sean, a lot of people will quit there, and that's what most entrepreneurs do. And they say, okay, great, I have an idea, I want to do something different, and they get stuck, and 10 years later they're doing the same exact thing. And so I took action behind that, but that's really the first moment. And the truth of the matter is I loved the idea of shaping the minds of, our teenagers, because I was one. At one point, I was a young teacher at the time. I wasn't much older than my kids in terms of biological age, maybe experience a little bit. But, I fell in love with the idea of tutoring, a.k.a. mentoring, just framed in a different way, right, because it's in the school system. Mm-hmm. And I really, really fell in love with the idea of shaping and helping them, not just, what I had to teach in algebra class, but as a man to the boys, as a man to girls, at that age.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the young, cool teacher that they would come in and hang out with and all that kind of stuff. So that was my first real falling in love with the concept of supporting, helping other people, and coaching and mentoring at some capacity.
Got it. And that was you. How old would you say at the time that this enlightenment or this new revelation opened up for you? Like, how old were you, if you could remember, Lane?
I was teaching, so I graduated college 22. I was probably 25 at the time when I kind of made the shift, and then I actually moved out to San Diego as a result, and I can share more about that in some subsequent questions. But
okay,
yeah, that's about when I was.
Okay, so about 20.
Totally shifting and changing everything.
Got it. Got it. Now, would you say
Yep.
as you were going through your middle school, high school, college, academia years, would you say that you were a good student?
I was, yes. I mean, just from a mere number standpoint of a GPA, yeah, in high school, I think I got like a 3.8, 3.9.
Okay.
And I was that kid that did everything. I was the vice president of the class, and I was our mascot, which we never had before. I raised the money at basketball games to buy the costume to do that. I was the fence, and I did the morning announcement. I mean, I was everything in a high school, and I'm not saying, oh, look at me, like back in the day when 40-year-olds still talk about how cool they were in high school. But yes, I mean, at that phase in my life, which is true in everything I've ever done, is I dive all in and I do everything to get the experiences that I want. So yeah, I did very well academically. In high school, wasn't that hard. I mean, let's be real. For me, I worked hard as well. I have two older brothers, and I won't go into the whole detail, but one went to Duke, graduated with a 4.0. One went to UNC, and then UNC Law. Both of them are very different. One works very hard and is very smart. One is very smart and good at taking tests and doesn't work that hard. So for me, I was a hybrid between the two of them. I'm naturally fairly intelligent, very cerebral. I'm a high I, so creativity and stuff like that. But I learned how to excel with my skill set and my learning modalities. And that actually, it's so funny because a lot of times we look back and we realize why we do things a certain way. And once I understood DISC and strength finders and excuse me, Myers-Briggs, and really understood who I was, I can see why I excel at certain things. But at the time, I didn't understand it. So I learned how to not cheat the system, because I didn't cheat. It was really more beat the system in order to help myself expedite the learning process to be able to excel at the way the system was set up in school, because it doesn't really teach you that much. And I'm not going to go on a long whirlwind about that unless you want me to. It's regurgitation, and it's not creative, and it's not really conceptual thinking. There's a lot of things, but it's not that hard. I'm good at memorizing, and that's what high school is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love acronyms, and so everything I teach a lot of times now in entrepreneurship has to do with an acronym, because that's how I studied and learned. I would just remember things and come up with games that would kind of challenge myself and all that good stuff. So yes, I excelled partly because it was not that hard for me. And I took all AP classes and stuff like that, but the second of it is because I really learned how to.
Sure. So it's kind of, I think I would concur and agree with you. The current, if you will, quote unquote, public education system in our country, it's very in the box type of structure. There's not much creativity. It's a core curriculum. You're in the ABC track or the advanced placement track. But yeah, I concur and agree with you as far as there's not much creativity. There's no free thinking. It's kind of what I call in the box, in the box type of thinking. And most times, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs are typically out of the box type of people in that regard. But if you can, Lane, share the most impactful experience or memory you can remember from either high school or your college days that was really a defining moment for you, that this memory sticks with you, this experience sticks with you, and what it actually taught you.
Can you maybe ask in a different way so that I can make sure that I answer it, because there's so many.
Okay.
Give me a different perspective so that I can make sure that I give something that will help the listener the best, and that we can transcribe into the most impactful way.
Sure, sure. One of the big defining moments, if I can share my experience of one of the greatest defining moments in my life that I remember. I was a freshman in high school, and I was basically in the alternative program, and I was basically dealing weed, selling pot. That's what the market called for, and I'm not going to go into my previous entrepreneurial experiences prior to that, but the Mr. Granger was my high school principal at the time at the middle school, and he called up Gil Manassi, who was the principal of the high school, and he said, "Gil, you got one coming up here. I don't know what you're going to do with this kid, but keep an eye on him." Long story short, it was about 2 weeks into my freshman year, and I was walking down State Road with my brother Brian, and we were basically smoking a joint together. And yeah, I don't know if you've ever smoked weed or not, but it usually takes about 30, 45 seconds to actually the effect to start to hit you. And I was the last one. I had the joint in my hand, and I had it clenched out in my hand when Mr. Gilmanassi pulled over in his Jeep and said, "Come on, guys, I'm going to give you a ride to school." And he knew who we were. So my brother Brian at the time was a senior, and as soon as we pulled into the parking lot at the high school, he had a designated spot that this is where the principal parked all the time. And as soon as we got out of the car, he said, "Brian, you go to class, Sean, in my office." And at this point, it was starting to hit me. I'm like flying higher than a kite, walking into the principal's office. And as soon as we sat down, he went behind his desk, and I was in front of him. And he said, "Sean, number one, I know that you're stoned out of your mind right now. I wasn't born yesterday. I'm the principal of Upper Darby High School. I know what you have in your locker, and I'm going to ask you one question." And he said, "Depending on how you answer me is going to dictate what I do next." And he said, "I'm going to ask you never to bring that stuff into," he called the school his house. He said, "I'm going to ask you to never bring that stuff into my house again, and will you do that?" And I knew what he was trying to do for me, because in my high school, like, there was, numerous different occasions that, it was not uncommon for, the cops to be at the school to put someone in handcuffs and just take them out of school and lock them up in juvenile detention, or, at the facility, a couple miles away. And I knew what Gil was trying to do for me, and I looked at him and I said, "Gil, I give you my word, I promise." And that spawned a relationship and totally turned things around for me big time in the total direction of where I was going. And I remember it like yesterday. And it was one of because I knew he could have picked up that phone, made one phone call, and within 5 minutes I would have been, handcuffed, taken down to the police station, hauled off to juvie, and it would have been all over for me. And I knew what he was trying to do for me. And because I had potential, I was like, not potential so much academically, because I didn't really apply myself, because I didn't really see the value in learning the stuff that they were teaching. I went to school to make money and party and have fun, right? And win sports, win football games and wrestling matches, and those were my sports. So that was a real defining moment for me, and it really made a total turnaround for me in the course and direction of my life. So when I asked the question, like, what was one of the most impactful experiences or memories that you can remember? And it doesn't necessarily have to be in high school or in the college days, but one of those experiences in your life that it was a landmark experience that this is, okay, I'm changing lanes here, and I'm going to go this total direction, different and opposite. Now, not just on the entrepreneurial side, but maybe either on the spiritual side, on the professional side, or the personal side. Like, is there one of those experiences that you could share?
Yeah, I've got two. One in high school that will help answer that, and then later, if you want, or right after, one that changed my entrepreneurial career forever as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd love to hear them.
Okay, so going back to the high school, for the students that are going to be listening or reading this, I was like I mentioned, kind of everything under the roof or the house, right, as your principal calls it. I was that kid. I mean, not to brag or not to sound like I'm that cool, because it is what it is, but I was everything. And I've always wanted to do that. And so I had gotten fairly overweight going into my senior year of high school. I was an athlete and I played a bunch of sports, but for whatever reason, my eating habits were terrible, and I was holding myself back from getting to all-star games and stuff because of my personal choices. And so there was a contest. I went to Rockville High School, and there was a contest called Mr. Rockville. And I participated in the first 3 years, and I wanted to win it my senior year. I had won everything else, and it was just an accomplishment that I wanted. Yet the truth of the matter is, it was basically a beauty contest, if you want to call that, kind of a joke type of mentality. But there were 3 competitions, right? So you're in front of the entire school body and all the parents on one evening at the school auditorium. And there's 3 competitions. One is formal wear, so you're wearing a tuxedo or whatever, and you walk across stage and do whatever. The second one was casual wear, what we normally wear to the beach or whatever. And then the third one was boxers. And so you have your shirt off in front of the entire school. And the first 3 years of the competition, I did not take my shirt off. I was too embarrassed in front of the entire school. Obviously, I wasn't going to win the whole thing. And very confident, I was the funny, goofy guy, so everybody liked me and all that kind of stuff. But truth of the matter was that I don't know that I didn't like myself, but I wasn't comfortable with a certain part of my life. And so I made an effort that I was going to win the darn thing. And so I got into shape. I lost 63 pounds. And if you can imagine, I don't know that I looked 63 pounds heavier than I was, but I did. And I batted 360 that year. Actually, it might have been even closer to 400. Anyway, regardless of the stat, right? Everything was improving for me. Girls were actually paying attention to me, from a different perspective, just being around the funny fat kid, right? And so I got ready for this thing, and I ended up winning the competition, and it was nothing more than a stroke of the ego for me, right? It wasn't, oh, look at me, and it was just, at the time, it was for me an accolade that I knew that I wouldn't win if I didn't change what I was doing to get the results that I wanted.
Right.
And as I look back, and even at that moment, proud of the accomplishment, not the trophy, right? I don't care about the accolades and the awards, because all it does is represent the work that you had to do that people didn't see, of eating and sacrificing from that end, working out before school, and then, right after practices, and doing everything that it seriously takes to get in shape. And that is true in anything that we do in life. For anybody that's overweight or anything, they know if they've lost weight, they know how hard it is, but it's really simple. It's not that tough, and nothing is, but we overcomplicate things to every degree, because life is not that tough. We just make it a lot more challenging than it needs to be. So, that was a very impactful moment in my life, because I can look back, and every time I'm going through something, I remember, hey, look, it's the journey and the destination kind of together, because the destination dictates the journey sometimes. We get to choose what lane we go down. Too often in life, though, people are forced down the lane that they don't even know, because they think the results they want aren't what they truly do. And so for me, it really helped me define, okay, this is my goal. I know how long I have, because most people have a goal but with no time limit to it, and therefore they just hope they're going to stumble upon it at some point. And so for me, it was, no, I've got this goal. I know how long I need to do it. I know what I need to do. I know the sacrifices I need to make. And if I do all those, most likely I'm going to get closer to my goal. Even if I don't get it perfectly, guess what? It doesn't matter. I'm way further ahead than what I was. And then I have a choice at that point. Am I satisfied and just, stop doing it in that particular area of my life? Or do I keep propelling myself forward in that particular area, which just happened to be health for me at that point? And so that was one very, very, very significant, yet insignificant thing in the large picture of life. It's not the trophy. It's not if I went back to high school and said I won Mr. Rockville to some senior, he might say, oh, that's kind of cool, but he doesn't know the journey and the sacrifice that it took me to get there. Right? And that's what entrepreneurship is about. That's what life is about. It's about getting rewarded for the things that we have to do when people don't see it, so that when we're in the public, they do get to.
Right. Love it, man.
And so that was huge. And another, a second story if you want me to share it now, or I can come back to that.
No. Keep going, man. You're on a roll.
Okay. So this was more of an entrepreneurial career, and this changed everything that I know about everything that I do. It's a combination of entrepreneurship, education, as well as mind, body, and spirit. And so to set up the teaching lesson here for a second, understand that my journey, as I told you, started as a middle school math teacher, read a book, became a full-time entrepreneur, and real estate was the avenue and the lane that I chose at the time because I thought that wealth was accumulated through real estate because everybody I knew that was wealthy had done that, and I was chasing the almighty dollar at that particular time in my life. Nothing wrong with that to a sense because money does give us options, and options allow us to help other people. And so at the time I didn't have that mentality, but I still believe that it's very, very powerful today. So I was chasing after that, working God knows how many hours a week. I was fairly newly single, and I won't go into all the details, but that was just the case in my life. And my car had been repoed because I didn't pay it on time. My grandmother had just passed, and I couldn't afford a ticket to get back all the way across the country because she was in Maryland. I had just moved to San Diego. All these different things that weren't really going that well in my life. And I was driving through on a bike through fast food restaurants to get ketchup packets to take home because I didn't want to buy ketchup, and just like things like that where some of the moments you look back on, you're like, how in the world and what was I doing, right? Mm-hmm. And from the health perspective, I knew I couldn't have $1 million body if I was eating off the dollar menu. But I still, that was my situation in life at that point, right?
Sure.
And so I got my first job. My first job was a sales professional making $0 on 100% commission, but at least, Sean, I had a direction, and most people don't even have that. Most people are going nowhere fast.
Agreed.
And that's a very dangerous place to be. And so at least I was doing stuff. I had a mentor that was teaching me, scripting and closing techniques, and I was making 150 cold calls a day, and I was in momentum and action. And I'll tell you what, for most people that get stuck, the best thing you can do is go do something.
Yep.
Now, obviously, you want to intentionally do something that's an income-producing activity, but at the end of the day, doing something is better than nothing because you're still going to be going nowhere fast, but at least you're going somewhere, and you can course correct and get a GPS or a mentor that can teach you how to course correct. So for me at the time, it was a great position to be in because I was at least around positive people that were doing really well, and I started learning. And so what ended up happening is I met a particular prospect of mine, talked to her, and she never gave me a deal. And I'm so glad she didn't because I don't think what I'm about to tell you would have ever happened. And it was way more impactful in my life than I could even imagine. And so her name was Jenny, and Jenny was a real estate agent, and my job was to call real estate agents and pitch them on our product. And so I prospected her, followed up 7 times, 8 times like a good salesperson does, ended up that she wasn't going to give us a deal. And so I moved on because at some point you have to focus your attention to where it's going to be fruitful.
Sure.
And so I stopped following up with her, and I put my attention elsewhere. And at this particular time, I was kind of in a journey, what I just told you about, where a lot of stuff wasn't working out real well. And what I realized is that at the beginning of my journey as an entrepreneur, when I was a teacher, I had faith. And to me, faith is full assurance in the heart. If you look at the acronym. And what I really discovered is that that's what I had. I had faith in my heart. I had faith in the human heart, but I didn't have faith in God. And so at the time, I didn't understand the journey I was about to go on, but God had a better plan for me in a lane that he was going to send me down, and Jenny was part of the catalyst. And what ended up happening is after Jenny and I met, about a year later, I wanted to get my faith and my actual walk with Christ. And I was reading the Bible, and I had to get a compendium that would teach me how to read the Bible because I didn't understand it. Even though I grew up in a Christian home, I hadn't been in the Word in God knows how long. He knew. Literally. God did know, but I didn't know how long. And so I'm about to go read the Bible for the first time. And instead of doing that at 7:30 in the morning, I got on Facebook. A lot of times we get distracted, right? Sure. And so I opened up Facebook, and the first thing that I read was a verse that read, ask, seek, knock. Ask and you shall receive. Wow. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. And it penetrated my heart like nothing else had ever done before, because it just for some reason hit me, and I said, man, this is kind of a sign, let me go down. So I drive down to Torrey Pines. It's a beach, a state reserve in San Diego, California, and one of the most pristine places, in my opinion, in the world.
Okay.
and it became my haven. And so I drive down there. It just so happens to be a June gloom morning. June gloom is when the fog and the marine layer is still heavy over the ocean, and it kind of creates this dense inability, curtain, if you will, that prevents you from really seeing as clearly as you can. And I think a lot of times in life, that's what people do. We have this marine layer, this fog in our life that distorts the images that we actually want to see.
Yeah.
And so as I'm sitting there, it's one of those kind of gloomy days, and I'm sitting there with a hooded sweatshirt, board shorts, and sandals, which is what a lot of San Diegans do, and I become that guy. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm shivering, and I'm reading this thing. It's a little misty because of the ocean, and all of a sudden, this presence starts to come alongside me, and I feel this weird thing, this power coming over me. And I look over there, and I can't really tell what it is. And of course, I'm doing my face, and I'm like, God, what are you already doing to me? And it ends up that as she makes her way forward, I actually make the countenance in the face of Jenny, who I had told you about earlier, who was walking on the beach. We're the only two out there.
Mm.
And she comes alongside, and as I start to make out, she says, Lane, is that you? And I said, yeah, hello, who is that? And I realized it was her. I'd never actually met her, but she recognized me, and I could tell the voice. And we started talking, and no joke, one of the first things she said out of her mouth was, I absolutely hate you.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, how does somebody that doesn't even know me, who I've never met before, actually hate me already?
Yeah.
And I said, well, Jenny, I appreciate that. Why is that? And understand that my perspective of her and her perspective of me is based on our own opinions, based on the things that we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And I want each of you guys listening to understand that the judgment that you have against you, or the judgment that others have against you, is based on the things that they've been through that have created their belief systems that project that on you.
That's right.
And so I always acknowledge, I say thank you, because I don't know what they're going to say next. And so I said that. And she went on to say the next thing, I love you unconditionally, and I'm so grateful for you. And I said, thank you. Why is that? And she said, Lane, you got to understand, this is the first time I've been to the hospital in 9 months. My boyfriend's up there on the road. He's going to drive me home, but I made him pull over because I've had a 1% chance of living with a collapsed lung. And the doctors finally let me out, but I'm going home because I need to rest because my body's exhausted. But I wanted to feel the sand beneath my toes one more time.
Mm.
And she said, the reason I love you and hate you is because you seem so happy. Everything seems to be going so well for you, right? Mm. That's why she hated me, but she loved me because she was following me on social media, and she was able to print things off and read things and get motivation and inspiration to not give up and to not quit and to not give in. And what I recognized that day that changed everything for me is it's not about me. And when we get through tough times in our life and we look internally, we're being selfish because we're selfish, complaining about all the things that are going wrong with us, when in reality, God is setting us up for our test to become a testimonial for somebody else.
That's correct.
And had I given up, had I quit, had I, given it in when my car got repoed or my grandmother died or I had gone through the hard relationship, or whatever it is, I would have maybe not been able to help somebody else. And understand that I'm not saying this, as Les Brown says, to impress you, right? But to impress upon you that it's not about you.
That's right.
Stop being selfish, because life is not about. God's using us as a vehicle, as a vessel, to create a message for other people. And that moment changed everything for me, because I recognized that I have a bigger responsibility in this world to become somebody of significance, not for the ego that I used to have, but for the ability to get the testimonials and to get people coming up or on Facebook or whatever message me and saying, thank you, I'm going to keep moving forward because, or whatever it is. And each person listening to this, as you read this book, what you are doing, Sean, it is designed for a bigger purpose.
That's right.
That we can't even fathom or imagine, because our human mind is too insignificant to understand the significance that God has as a result of what we're doing. Why do you think I said yes to this? Because I know that.
Yeah.
I know that the books that I've written have changed lives for people. I know that this book, maybe not my story, maybe somebody else's, but you know what? Maybe I'm the person that gets the book into somebody's hands that needs to read somebody else's chapter, and that's what this thing is about, right?
Yep.
And that's what life is about. And that changed everything for me in my entire entrepreneurial career, because I understood, as Zig Ziglar said, don't go out there and try to get what you want. Do help enough people get what they want first, and you will ultimately get what you want.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole concept of what you know very well, network marketing. That's the great concept of anything that you do, in any sales opportunity, in any business. And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to hire people that have that mentality, or else they're going to quit, right?
Yeah.
They're going to leave you because they're not buying into, just the pay. They're buying into the vision, to the mission, and into everything that you stand for. And it's so important, right? If the CFO asks the CEO, what happens if we invested in developing our people and they leave us? And the CEO, you, me, and all the good people out there say, what happens if we don't and they stay?
Yeah, when you did that post, that really resonated with me. It was, I think, on a picture thing that you put out on the comment on the conversation we were having, and it was like so true. What happens if we don't invest in our people?
Exactly. And what happens if we don't invest in ourselves?
Yep, totally.
I'll tell you this all the time. If people don't buy this book or listen to this audio or go to the next seminar or come out to one of my events, not because I need the money. I'll take it all day long. I'm an investor, right?
Sure.
I want people's money because I know that I'm taking their money to help them and serve them. But my point is that people need to invest in themselves. Nobody can help you. Nobody can help me. Nobody can help anybody as much as we can help ourselves. And then once we get to the level where we're affluent, not just in a financial bank account situation. I don't care about that. I mean affluent being that your mindset is so unbelievable. Your servanthood idea and mentality is so powerful. And your desire to outwit, outbeat, outlast anybody, that's the type of person I look to partner up with because they understand that resources aren't as important as resourcefulness.
That's right.
And you put me up against anybody, I will probably win because I'll figure out a way because I'm more resourceful. I haven't had that much in my life. It's just true. Yeah. I will figure it out or I'll build a network that understands it and can help me when I need it. That's what I thrive on.
Love it. Love it. Well, we, my friend, I would call you a PhD person to the nines. You are very passionate, hungry, and driven, and not in an egotistical sense, but obviously, Lane, it's very evident and clear that that you want to serve and help people get to what I like to call the divine calling or purpose that has been placed on their life before the foundations of the earth were put into place. And it's a beautiful thing, man, and you or I or anyone that is in a teacher mentorship type of position have to not take that lightly at all, and one of the things I think you would concur with this and I firmly believe in this, a great leader doesn't create a bunch of followers. A great leader creates other leaders that can go out and create other leaders. And God is a God of duplication. Whatever he touches, he multiplies. Like, kind of going off, digressing a little bit here on my own thoughts from what you shared. But, he said to Adam and Eve, go be fruitful and multiply, right? Mm-hmm. Have dominion over this world. And he has certainly given us that. But yeah, the mission is clear with what we're doing with Young Eagle entrepreneurs in this book is to be the catalyst, be the spark. Hopefully your story or one of the other people that are going to be interviewed, their story will open up some avenues of thinking and some deep interpersonal thinking and reflection, like saying, wow, if that person went through that and they had that issue and they were able to overcome that, then my issue's not that big. I can get past this. Let me go get a coach. Let me go get a mentor. Let me find someone that I can connect with that can help me walk out my divine calling, purpose, and plan, or my idea that I have, and not stay in that box what corporate America or the current way things are in our economy. But Lane, that is awesome stuff, man. I appreciate you being truly, fully transparent and sharing genuinely and authentically, and it's very clear and evident. And I really appreciate that. In moving, like after that experience that you had on the beach with Jenny and that whole direction changed for you, would you say at that point, Lane, was that when you really when you really knew that you really had something to offer the world? Or I guess the question I want to ask is, if you could give yourself one piece of advice based off of what you know now versus what you knew when you first started out, is there one piece of advice that you could share with the reader or the listener that you would give yourself now?
There's a few, but I would say go on a perpetual journey to discover the lane that is right for you, not based on what other drivers tell you, but what you believe is truthful for you.
Awesome.
And the reason I say that is this. There are too many people out there who want to be like somebody else. And the truth of the matter is that we can certainly emulate the success of others and learn from them, but we will never be them, and we shouldn't be. And the more we attempt to do that, the more we lose ourselves. And regardless of the judgment, regardless of the sacrifice that's going to be needed, regardless of the temptation to deviate and to shift lanes when you haven't accomplished what you want yet, you are doing yourself a disservice. The entire world is a disservice, because God gave us each individual gift that only He gifted to us, and the talents are unique to us. Not to say that they may not be similar to somebody else's, but He's put us in a particular time, in a particular place, with a particular message to get to somebody that needs to hear us.
Mm-hmm.
And very infrequently do people own that. Do they honor it enough? Or do they sacrifice long enough to find the truth behind that? And when you do that, and when you're willing to do that, no matter what, then you will create happiness in your life. And happiness creates gratitude, and gratitude creates, literally scientifically and physiologically, a vibration that attracts greatness and opportunities into your life.
That's right. Absolutely.
And so ultimately, when you get into the right lane, the correct lane, there is no traffic. I'm not saying there's not going to be speed bumps. I'm not saying there's not going to be detours and tolls. There's going to be a lot of hardship. But at the end of the day, God tells us that we are going to experience trouble. The question is, are you going to experience trouble in a false lane, or are you going to experience in a lane that you're just going to say, you know what, that's supposed to happen? Good, bring on more, because I know that what it's doing is setting me up to become even a greater warrior for the kingdom. And I know that what I go through will actually teach me greater lessons than I could have ever learned in school. Because in school, as you know, we are, especially as a teacher, we basically give people lessons, and then at the end they have to take a test, whereas in life, we're given a test and then we got to decipher the lesson. And that's where you figure out what the keys to success in your own life are. And then you can impart it, and then you can actually become a mentor or a tutor or a dad or a mom or a brother in Christ, and either get paid as a mentor should, or just simply let your hindsight become somebody else's foresight.
Awesome, dude. Beautiful. Lane, as you were growing and developing in who you became and who you are today, I'm sure you dealt with naysayers in your life, right? Negative people that were trying to derail you or tear down your dreams or your ideas. Did you ever have to deal with that?
Yep, and I unfortunately became my own at one point too, which is the biggest one that most people struggle with.
Okay. Well, let's deal with, let's cover the first one.
Okay.
When you have the, other people are naysayers, like how do you deal with their negativity? What do you do?
Ignore it.
Pretty simple. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. What happens in life is, and on the road of life, okay, I was blessed with the opportunity this year, starting in January of 2017, all the way basically until about a month ago, so that's 9 months on the road, of traveling the entire country, hitting every 48 states of the Union, and driving the entire way. And there's two things that I want to make sure I have you guys understand, is this. One of which is there's a roadmap, and then there's a set of directions. A roadmap allows us the opportunity to get wherever we want with whatever direction and path we want to take. It gives us freedom, and it's phenomenal. A set of directions is a faster, more efficient, and more effective route to get to our destination. And the choice is yours. There's times in life, I think, where you should just take a roadmap and say, you know what, I'm going to go to this event, or I'm going to go find this new hobby, or I'm going to go date again, or whatever, because the roadmap allows you the opportunity to maybe end up somewhere cool. Yet a set of directions on a mentorship level or an entrepreneur level is, this person has already accomplished what I want. I'm willing to pay them to get there faster, easier, and with less complication because they've already been there.
Excellent.
And that's very, very important. But what I want to do is answer your question in this way. On the road of life as well, and on this journey, how many bugs do you think hit my windshield driving 30,000 miles across the country in 100 days?
Dude, I would probably say at least 300,000 or more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the number is insignificant. The lesson isn't.
Right.
And what I want to share with you is during life, we have a windshield and we have a rear view mirror. And you talked about the roadmap and the set of directions. Mentorship is looking at the windshield instead of backwards at where you've been, but somebody else's rear view mirror can become somebody else's windshield. Yet what happens in life is bug splats hit our windshield, and where do you think our attention goes? To the 99.9% of the windshield that's wide open, or to that little percent of the bug?
Usually it goes right to the bug that just splattered.
Exactly. What you do, you turn on your windshield wipers, and what does it do? It actually creates a bigger streak on your windshield, and then you've got more of a problem.
Right.
So to answer your question, that's exactly what happens. If you focus on it, whatever we focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And so if you're focusing on the bug in the form of cancer that you're diagnosed with, or bankruptcy that you have to go through, or getting fired, or getting made fun of, or getting rejected in sales, or getting ignored, or going back to the question, right? At the end of the day, whatever it is and whatever form of that bug appears in your life, the longer you dwell on it, the more hell you're going to go through. And so unfortunately, as tough as it can be, we need to redirect our focus back to what? We need to redirect back to the road that's in front of us. And if we need to pull over and we need to go to a gas station and get one of those squeegees and wipe it off, great, do that.
Right.
What do I mean? In life, that's sometimes what you have to do. You need to squeegee your friends out of your life because all they do is drink all day, and you're caught up in that. Maybe you have to squeegee your significant other out of your life because they're abusive and they're beating you, and you don't deserve to be in that. Maybe you need to squeegee your boss out of your life because they're paying you $13 an hour for when you're worth $1,300 an hour, but you don't even know that yet because you haven't been given the experience to do so. And so as we go through life, no matter what's going to get in our way, we have to just avoid it, take a detour, get around it as quickly as we need to, go backwards if we have to, and then eventually just move forward. And that's just how I continue to do so. It doesn't mean be ignorant to it. It just simply means don't pay a lot of attention to it.
Got it. And now, as far as like the, because I share this all the time when I'm teaching and sharing with people, and I ask them, I say, who's the one that you have the conversation with the most? And the people will say my mom or my dad or my best friend or whatever. And the reality of it is, you have the longest and deepest conversation with yourself. So when you hit that wall, and we all hit it, we're all human. Right? We all get deflated sometimes. So when you have come in different situations in your life where you hit the wall or you're beating yourself up or, I guess the best way to put it is when you hit the wall, how do you get over the wall, around the wall, under the wall? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you get past that, Lee? How do you do that?
Without vision, a man perishes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you have to go back, and you have to always continually go back to the vision of why you started in the first place. When you're about to give up, go to that moment of why you even started in the first place. Now, if they don't match up, it's okay to quit. I believe in quitting, not on the vision, but on the method that you're using to get there potentially.
Got it.
Or on the consistent thing that you're doing that's not working. So I believe that when you're stuck, either you need a different vehicle, okay? Meaning, let's say you want to become a millionaire. Just as an example, as an entrepreneur. How many different ways are there to become a millionaire? Infinite.
Infinite, right.
Literally. Now, you can go to network marketing, which you and I have done. You can go to real estate, which you and I have done. You can go to insurance and sell that. You can freaking work however a million hours for $1, whatever it equates to, or 10 times. And get $10 an hour and have to work 10 times less as hard if you're trading time for money, or create leverage in your life to have other people work for you so that you can sit back and relax. So there's unlimited amounts of ways to do it. The goal doesn't change. The vision doesn't change. It's just the method or the vehicle that you're using to get there. And
Got it.
so I've had to change lanes a few different times, but my vision continues to stay true, and I have to go back to that every single time. If I'm going to make a sales call and I don't want to, guess what I do? Get out of my own way. Go back to my vision, because if I don't talk to this person, guess what? I'm holding myself back, and they might be the key to my next success.
Correct.
Or I might be the key to their next success. Or collaboratively, like you're doing and like I do in life, we might be each other's key to success. And so I truly believe that when we get stuck, again, we're being selfish. And when we get selfish, we're not thinking. And so sometimes a couple different things. Go to your vision. Second, I would say get creative and get out of the normality and go do something that's going to help you allow you to do that. Whether it's hiking, I love being outdoors. Whether it's putting your phone away for a little bit and stop looking at that and actually allowing yourself, praying or meditating. Praying is so important because he already has the answers. We just have to help ourselves figure out what he wants us to do.
Yeah.
And then I would also say join a mastermind.
Excellent.
Because a mastermind, just like you and I, two people can be a mastermind where two or three are gathered, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Iron. And so it's true in exactly, iron sharpens iron.
Iron
and at the end of the
iron.
day, amen. And at the end of the day, you and I, even me just talking has helped you. You said, oh, well, I wasn't really going to bring this up, but you just made me think of something. And that's what masterminds do. Masterminds are specifically designed, originally created through Napoleon Hill, who basically suggests that the idea is that we can't think at a level on our own that we can in a group, because one idea creates another idea that was never there, and the manifestation of that will actually result into something that was never possible without it. And so it's so important for you to get around people that are already ahead of where you are, that think differently, not maybe even in your own industry even, but maybe in different industries.
Sure.
Get a different perspective, because their different perspective can help you create a new one.
Awesome, man. I love your sharing, and you're putting out some really good stuff here. Lane, what would you say, what are you most excited about next in your life for your business? Like, what just got you jacked up about, where you are and where you're going?
Great question. I appreciate that. We are at a great place with our company right now. I started my company 2 years ago called Changing Lanes International, and we do mentorship and masterminds. We teach speaking and how do you get on more stages. We actually have an authorship program to help people become that. And ultimately, we teach three things. It's the CAR formula. R is recognition. How do you become more recognizable? A is authority. How do you become more of a credible resource for people? Because the value you bring to the marketplace dictates your income. And then C is collaboration and contribution. How do you actually go out there and make a bigger difference in the world? And that's what we focus on, from our live events to our coaching to our digital marketing to the authorship programs we have as well. And so we're at a great place right now. I just spent 3 days in Detroit, Michigan with a very successful real estate investor who's become a good friend. And I went out there basically just to say, hey, teach me. What have you done to get to an 8-figure business? I need to get there. And so I picked his brain, and he's actually wanting to invest in our company and allow us to get to where we want to go, because we're holding ourselves back from the ability to without the resources. And so I got resourceful. And I've helped him, right? I want people to understand that the more you serve, the better you get. Reap and sow, tithing idea. And so what I did is I actually raised $2 million for him, which is hopefully going to turn into $20 million for a real estate project. Now I'm going to get a commission on that because I'm a smart guy. So 2% of $20 million isn't a bad little payday at some point, right? But that's not just the only reason I did it. It's nice. It's a bonus. It's great. It's fantastic. But guess what happened? Now, because I served him first over the course of a year, don't you think you'd be more receptive to potentially returning the favor?
Absolutely. It's the law.
And so,
the law of reciprocation.
Exactly. And so what I want people to understand, you asked this question, I'm going to answer it here in a second, but I want people to understand that if you're listening to this or you're reading the book, reach out to every single person that's in this book, because they have gotten to a level that you reached out to them and they have value to bring. It may not be value that you want to use or can use right now because of where you are in your life. But the truth of the matter is that if you listen to it, at some point it might actually be fruitful. And so what we're very, very excited about is we're going to be launching a brand new program, which I will share not on this call, but soon. And we're very, very excited at the current moment as we record this. Our book, Life in the Fast Lane, is going to be coming out. We did a collaborative type mentality like you. with amazing people. And I won't do the whole name drop thing, but it's same concept that we wanted to give people the opportunity to be gifted the same opportunity I was, which is to be in a book, and it changed the course of my life forever. We didn't even talk about that, but that's why I said yes to this, because I understand, certain people say it's, the books you read and the people you hang out with are the difference between where you are now and in 5 years. Yep. And I believe that to be true, but I also believe, as I quote, which is, it's the people you hang out with and the books you're in.
Yep.
Or the books you've written.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
Because I've written 2 #1 best-selling books. I've probably been in 7. I understand that contributing and giving back is huge, but maybe somebody that wouldn't read my own book because I don't have them in my audience will read a message in your book, and I get to bless them. And so we're very, very excited about launching that book. It'll be right before Thanksgiving, and all the things that book has opened opportunities up for us with partnerships with guys from Shark Tank and just unbelievable things that had I given up a long time ago, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that.
Dude, totally love it, man. Awesome, love it. All right. If you could recommend one book, I got 2 more questions for you, Lane, and then we'll wrap it up. If you could recommend one book that has significantly impacted you personally, professionally, spiritually, what is the title of that book and who's the author?
The Bible. And I think you guys know the author of that one, right?
Mm-hmm. Is there a particular...
No,
Is there a particular book in the Bible, or?
In the Bible, I was half joking, half serious, but honestly, if you think about it, it's the best business book in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs literally tell us how to live our entire life and how to build our business. Job is the biggest testimonial of what you just asked about, of when do you want to give up well, I'm not Job, so I think I'll be okay. There's just so many stories in there about how to treat women. It's just like, it is the best book that we can ever possibly read. But if you're not at that point in your life, right, that's the compendium to some other books. And so I would suggest, well, I have 3 books that have significantly impacted my life. I mentioned one of them, but at the time it was very, very impactful. I would have to say either Changing Lanes, which is my first book, not because of the plug, but because I'm proud of it.
Sure.
And because of the testimonials I've gotten, and 2 is this book that we're doing together.
Awesome, dude. I love it.
So get a copy of it if you're listening to this right now.
Definitely will. And to wrap it up, to end the interview, I'm a big quote guy. What would you say? What would you say? Share your favorite quote that you still use today that you picked up way back when. Like, what's one of those staple quotes for you?
I'll give you a couple because I'm a huge quote guy as well. I already mentioned ask, seek, knock, and that's what I live by. Ask, seek, knock, okay? And there's a lot more to it because you can't just pull a quote out of the Bible and understand it. But I truly believe that God does want to give us as many blessings as we're willing to get, as long as we receive them and honor Him through them. And so most people don't even start the first thing. They don't even ask. So going back to some of your questions, you've got to ask, what should I be doing? Why should I be doing it? Who should I meet? Where should I go? And then you've got to actually do the next step, which is seek. And you've got to actually fulfill that by knocking on doors, opening them, showing up at events, and doing all the different things that we need to do. Okay, so that's one of the verses I live by. There's another one from the Bible that I will quote, since this is a very faith-based book concept. But going back to one of the other questions you asked, about kind of what do you do when you're stuck or, you don't really know what to do. I am persistently patient, and I wasn't always that way. And what I mean by that is I'm as aggressive as you can be as a sales guy, and I am as passionate about what I do as anybody else, but I understand that the law of delayed gratification is the truth behind other people's success and mine. You have to have that mentality when you're going through life, because we can't get all the results we want, right, immediately. Sometimes they show up immediately after working for 4, 5, or 6 years on something, but unfortunately that's just true. So Philippians 4:6, most of the time people get anxious, and it says, do not be anxious, but in all things in prayer and petition,
that's right,
with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And when I get anxious about where's my next sale coming from, who's my next big client, what am I going to do next, at the end of the day, just like where you are in some of your personal life, it doesn't matter. He's going to provide. And it's a scary place to be because I don't always know where or how, but guess what? I'm still here and I've never gone a day hungry. There's been some when I've been very hungry, but I didn't die, right?
Got it.
And so that's a very, very powerful thing for me to do that. And then I guess I will stick with those two for right now because I'm a quote guy and I could probably go all day. But I think for the purposes of entrepreneurship is that those two things can guide and direct us in a multitude of different things, and really in every single thing that we go through personally, spiritually, financially, relationally, is to ask what he wants in our life, not what we deserve or what we think we should. And then to make sure that we're open to the doors that he opens. My second book was called Kairos, and it's about the whole concept of the opportune moments that we can take and seize and turn into momentous opportunities for other people. But too often we look at the door that's closed and we're complaining about the doorbell and then don't knock on the door when all we've been doing is asking God for a difference in our life, and he brings it to us and then we bitch and complain and moan. And then along the journey, once you've picked the lane you want to go into, be patient enough. Don't be anxious.
Yeah.
Trust the process that he already knows that it's laid out before you because he tells us that he wants us to prosper and not harm us, but to create abundance for us as long as we are loyal and faithful to him.
That's right. Jeremiah 29:11 through 13. It's a foundational verse for me. Romans 8:28 and Proverbs 3:5 and 6. Lane, you have been awesome, dude. I totally appreciate your investment of time. I look forward to seeing how God's going to bless this effort and our time together. And I don't know. I'm excited about the lives that I haven't even seen or met yet that I believe will be touched by your investment of time and willingness to share and just share your story and your journey and your insights and, kind of your journey, brother. So I appreciate you. I know everyone else that's going to be contributing to the book. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what God has in store for us for the future, my friend.
My pleasure. I'm always here for you, so anything else I can do, just let me know, and keep rocking, and we appreciate everything you're doing for the world.
Awesome, man. Well, until next time, we will be in touch shortly, and we'll certainly keep you up to date on the progress. And when the final book comes out, you will be getting a copy of it, my friend. And
amen.
All right. So I appreciate you, Lane. Everyone, God bless. Have a good night, and we will talk to you real soon.